Frost on a dying moon. The cold was alive. It crawled through the torn seams of Jace Ryder's uniform, biting at his skin like sharp teeth. His shuttle had gone down fast, faster than any training had prepared him for. One moment he was flying, low over the frozen moon of Veltrax 9, and the next alarms were screaming and the world had turned sideways. He had pulled himself from the wreck with a broken arm, bleeding leg and a pounding headache. For hours he wandered across the icy ground, unsure if he was alive or trapped in some cruel dream. But the pain was real. The cold was real. And so was the blood slowly freezing on his fingers. The sky above him was dark, full of swirling purple clouds. Stars blinked weakly as if afraid to shine on this place. His comms were dead. No one was coming. Jace dropped to his knees in the snow, too tired to take another step. "This is it," he whispered. "This is how it ends." His eyes fluttered, shut, and then footsteps, soft, careful, almost silent. But they were there, coming closer. His eyes opened slowly. Through the falling snow, a figure approached, tall, slender, moving with grace. Her skin shimmered like blue crystal under the moonlight and her long hair floated behind her like smoke. She knelt beside him. Jace tried to lift his arm, but he was too weak. "You're human," she said softly, in almost perfect English. Her voice was strange, like a song sung from far away. "You're not supposed to be here." "No. I crashed," Jace muttered. She looked around, her glowing eyes sharp and alert. "If they find you here, they will kill you, and me too." Jace coughed. "Then, leave me." But she didn't. Instead, she took off her cloak and wrapped it around him. It was warm. Strangely warm, like it had heat inside. He felt his frozen body begin to relax, even as he trembled. "Can you walk?" she asked. He shook his head slowly. "Then I will carry you." Jace wanted to laugh. He was over 6 feet tall and covered in gear. But before he could argue, she had lifted him with surprising strength. Her arms were gentle but firm. She didn't say another word as she walked through the snow, carrying him like he weighed nothing. They moved into a small cave hidden behind a ridge. Inside, a strange sleeping pod glowed with soft light. She lowered him into it carefully. "You need warmth, or you'll die," she said. "This pod will keep you alive." As she reached for the controls, Jace stared at her. "Who are you?" She hesitated. "My name is Sarah. You're not human." "No." "Why help me?" She didn't answer. Instead, she pressed a button. Warm light filled the pod. Jace gasped as heat rushed through his limbs. It hurt at first, like fire waking up dead nerves. But it kept him from falling unconscious again. Sarah sat down beside the pod. Her eyes stayed on the entrance of the cave, watching for danger. "Where am I?" Jace asked. "This is Sector 13 of Veltrax 9, she replied. "My people guard this moon. No one is allowed here." "Then why did you help me?" She turned to him slowly. "Because you were going to die, and I was tired of watching people die." Silence fell. Outside, the wind howled. The snow kept falling. Inside the pod, Jace felt his strength returning, slowly, painfully, but surely. "You risked your life for me," he whispered. Sarah looked down at the floor. "My people, they do not believe in mercy, not anymore." "Are you military?" "I was," she said. "But not anymore." Jace studied her face. There were scars along her jaw, thin lines like cracks in glass. They made her look older than she was. Her eyes had seen war, maybe more war than Jace could imagine. "What happens if they find us?" he asked. "They'll kill you," she said without emotion. "And me, for helping you." "Why don't you leave now?" She didn't look away. "From the cave entrance." "Because I already made my choice." Hours passed. Neither of them spoke much. Jace drifted in and out of sleep, his body still healing. Once he woke up and found Sarah still sitting there, eyes open, watching the snow. "Do you have a ship?" he asked. She nodded. "Not far, but it's hidden." "Can it fly?" "Yes. But if we use it, the sensors will pick us up. They'll come." "So we hide?" Sarah stood. "For now, but not forever." "What do they want here?" Jace asked. "Why is this moon so protected?" Sarah walked to the edge of the cave and looked out at the snowy landscape. "Because something is buried beneath the ice," she said. "Something they don't want you to find." And with those words, Jace knew his mission had just begun. Secrets under the snow. The wind outside the cave howled like a wounded animal. It echoed through the rocks, sometimes sounding like voices, sad, distant, and angry. Inside the dim cave, Jace lay still in the glowing pod, wrapped in silence. The warmth had returned to his body, but sleep refused to come. Too many questions swirled in his mind. He had crashed on an enemy moon. He had been saved by an alien girl who should have turned him in. And now they were hiding while someone or something hunted the truth. Sarah had moved to the far corner of the cave, her back against the cold stone. Jace thought she was resting, but then he heard her whispering. Her voice was low, quick, and spoken in a language he didn't understand. He didn't want to seem rude, but he shifted his weight, trying to listen. Her words were sharp, filled with urgency. She seemed nervous, afraid. When she turned around, she froze. "How long were you listening?" she asked, stepping closer. "I wasn't trying to," Jace said. "I just woke up." She studied his face, as if deciding whether to believe him. Then she relaxed just slightly and sat down next to the pod again. "Who were you talking to?" he asked quietly. "Someone who can help us," she said. "But it's not safe to use the comms too often. They track it." "You said something is buried here. What did you mean?" Sarah didn't answer right away. Her eyes lowered to the floor. When she finally spoke, her voice had changed. It was slower, heavier, like the words cost her something. "Before the war, before our people even met yours, this moon was part of the Builder Path," she began. "They were an ancient race, long gone, but they left things behind. Machines, knowledge, power." "The Builders," Jace whispered. "I've read about them. Some think they were gods." "They weren't gods," Sarah said. "But they were something close. And this moon, it holds one of their last secrets. It's buried deep under the ice, far below any scanner's reach. The only reason we even know it exists is because of a signal it sent out, once, years ago. Then it went silent." "And your people are guarding it?" "No," she said coldly. "They're trying to break into it, and when they do, they'll destroy whatever's inside so no one else can have it." "And you?" Jace asked. Sarah looked at him, her face calm but her eyes stormy. "I want to find it first." The silence returned. It wasn't a peaceful silence. It was thick, like fog, full of thoughts left unsaid. "You used to be one of them," Jace said. "Part of their military." "Yes. Before I learned what they really do." He waited, hoping she would continue. And after a long pause, she did. "My unit was sent to a colony planet. We were told it was a rebel base, but it wasn't. It was full of scientists, old women, children. They were just trying to preserve builder knowledge. We wiped them out in one night." Jace felt a knot tighten in his chest. "I didn't question it then," she continued. "I followed orders. It took me months to understand what I had done, and by the time I spoke out, I was branded a traitor." She stood and walked to the mouth of the cave, where snow drifted in silently. "You asked me why I saved you," she said without turning around. "Maybe it's because I couldn't save them." Jace slowly sat up in the pod, pain still lingering in his leg. "You did save me," he said. "And that matters." She didn't reply. Instead, she scanned the horizon. "We need to move," she said at last. "There's a patrol base 2 clicks east. They'll sweep this area soon." Jace tried to stand, but his legs shook. She offered her arm. He took it. They stepped out into the snow together. The cold hit them like a wave, but the suit she gave him helped. It was light, but somehow kept him warm. They moved carefully, leaving no trail behind. The sky was even darker now, and the air seemed thicker. Lightning flickered inside the clouds, far above, but no sound followed. Just strange, silent flashes like the sky itself was watching. As they walked, Jace noticed that the ground beneath them had started to shift. It was no longer just snow and rock. Now black glass-like panels peeked through the frost. Ancient symbols glowed faintly beneath their boots. "We're close," Sarah said. "To what?" "The gate." They stopped before a jagged crack in the ground. Steam rose from it, strange and sweet-smelling. A metal staircase led down into darkness. "This wasn't in your patrol maps, was it?" she asked. "No, this isn't on any map I've seen." "That's because it doesn't want to be found." They began to descend. With each step, the air grew warmer. Soon the snow disappeared, replaced by stone walls covered in glowing lines. The symbols moved as they passed, changing shape, reacting to their presence. Deep inside, they reached a door. It was smooth and silver without handles or hinges. "How do we open it?" Jace asked. Sarah looked at him. "We don't," she said. "You do." And before Jace could ask what she meant, the door lit up, scanning his face. Then, it opened. What lay beyond wasn't darkness. It was light, alive, intelligent, and waiting. The machine that dreams, the room behind the silver door pulsed like a heart. Light poured from the walls, flowing in soft waves. It wasn't electric or artificial. It felt alive, like the room was breathing. Thin strands of glowing mist floated through the air, shifting in patterns that looked almost like writing, almost like thoughts. It was not just a chamber. It was something greater, something watching. Jace stepped inside slowly, his boots echoing on the smooth floor. Sarah followed, her face pale with awe and something close to fear. This place, buried under frozen stone and sealed away for ages, was not built by human hands, not by her people either. As they moved further in, a voice filled the air, but it didn't come from speakers or from any direction. It came from inside Jace's head. "You have come far, Jace Ryder," the voice said. He froze. "How do you know my name?" Sarah reached for her weapon, eyes scanning the room. The voice continued. "Because I have been waiting for you." Light gathered ahead of them, swirling into a floating form. Not quite a person, not quite a hologram. It looked like a dream made of stardust, shifting shape with every heartbeat. "What is this?" Jace whispered. "The mind of a builder." Sarah answered quietly. "A guardian. They left them behind to protect their greatest secrets." "You carry the pattern," the voice said to Jace. "The human mind is uniquely suited to interface with our systems. We built this place for the one who would awaken it. And now, it is time." Jace felt a strange warmth in his chest, like something inside him was unlocking. His memories flickered, his training, his missions, his dreams, even his fears. The room was touching his thoughts. "This is insane," he said, stepping back. "I'm not special. I was just doing recon. My ship got shot down." "You are more than what you think," the voice said. "You carry within you the key to peace and or destruction." Sarah turned to him. "It's real," she said. "The prophecy. It spoke of a human and one of our kind, united in purpose, that they would change everything. Your people, believe in that?" Jace asked. "Not anymore," she said. "They buried it, erased it, because they were afraid." The chamber began to shift. Walls slid apart without sound, revealing more corridors, more lights, more impossible structures, built deep underground. One platform rose from the floor, glowing like fire. At its center stood a small pedestal with a sphere of black glass. "This is the heart," the voice said. "Touch it, and I will show you what was forgotten." Jace hesitated. Sarah looked at him, You don't have to do this, we can leave. But Jace shook his head. He had come too far. He couldn't walk away now. He reached out, his fingers brushing the surface of the sphere. Instantly, the world disappeared. He was standing in a different place. No, a memory. He saw stars being born, planets forming, civilizations rising and falling in moments. Builders walked among them, tall and glowing, their minds vast and full of light. They had shaped galaxies, created life, even bent time. But their greatest fear was what came after them. Jace watched as war spread, not between species but between ideas, freedom versus control, hope versus fear. The builders chose to end themselves, believing the galaxy wasn't ready for their power, but they left behind tools, places like this, guardians, and now, it had awoken again. The vision faded. Jace collapsed to his knees, gasping. Sarah knelt beside him. Are you all right? I saw everything, he whispered. They didn't die. They let themselves vanish, so we could grow. The voice spoke, again. But some still seek control. Your species and hers. Both carry the seeds of peace. And destruction. Together, you must decide what grows. Suddenly, alarms echoed above them. Distant booms shook the chamber. Sarah stood, drawing her weapon. They found us. Who? Jace asked. My people. And yours. They must have tracked the signal. The voice inside the chamber shifted. It now sounded concerned. You must flee. The knowledge must not be lost. The sphere rose into the air and floated toward Jace. It hovered before him. Take it, the voice said. It will show you the path. But be warned, the galaxy is watching. Jace grabbed the sphere. It was warm in his hands, pulsing like a heartbeat. Sarah led him back toward the stairs. As they ran, the walls of the chamber began to collapse. Not from bombs, but by design. It was burying itself again. They reached the surface just as the sky turned red. Ships were landing, dozens of them. Soldiers poured out, some in human armor, some in alien tech, and they were not looking to ask questions. Sarah looked at Jace. We're not running anymore, she said. We're fighting. Jace nodded. Together. As the first shots were fired, Jace tightened his grip on the builder sphere. What started as survival had just become war. Betrayal and orbit blaster fire lit the frozen sky. Jace and Sarah sprinted across the snow, ducking behind shattered rocks and thick ice pillars as explosions thundered behind them. The sphere pulsed in Jace's hand, glowing brighter with every second. He didn't know if it was fear, power, or some ancient signal calling to the stars. But whatever it was, it had made them the center of a battle neither of them fully understood. Sarah fired a blue energy bolt at the approaching soldiers. The beam struck the ground, exploding into a cloud of heat and dust. She grabbed Jace by the arm and pulled him into a narrow ice crevice. They slid down into a trench, their breath steaming. In the cold air, they've surrounded us, Jace said, panting. We won't outrun them. We don't have to, she replied, pulling a small device from her belt. It blinked twice, then sent out a pulse. Moments later, a low hum grew louder in the distance. Then a ship, small, stealthy, and shaped like a knife, roared overhead and lowered itself into the trench. The back door opened and a voice called out, "About time you called." Jace looked up, startled. "Is that Harlan?" "The one and only," the voice replied. Lieutenant Harlan Kane, Jace's old squad mate and best friend from the academy, stood in the doorway of the ship, his rifle slung across his back and a crooked grin on his face. "You brought a date?" he asked, looking at Sarah. "Get us in the air, Harlan," Jace shouted. "Roger that." They leapt aboard just as a blast struck the ice behind them, turning the trench into a crater. The ship soared upward, dodging enemy fire, vanishing into the clouds. Inside the ship, Jace collapsed against the wall, breathing hard. "You're a hard man to find," Harlan said. "Command thought you were dead." "I nearly was," Jace replied. "And who's the alien?" "Her name is Sarah. She saved my life." Harlan looked at her, then at Jace. You sure that's a good idea? I'm sure, Jace said firmly. Sarah remained quiet, her hand resting near her weapon. She didn't trust Harlan, and something in Jace's stomach twisted. He wasn't sure he did either. They flew in silence for a while. Jace explained everything: the crash, the cave, the builder, machine, the sphere, the vision. Harlan listened, his face unreadable. Finally he said, "Then you understand how dangerous this is." "Yes," Jace said, "but it's also important." "Command's gonna want that thing," Harlan said, nodding at the sphere. "They can't have it," Sarah said suddenly. "They'll destroy it like they destroy everything they fear." Harlan looked at her. "You don't know that." "I do," she said coldly. "I've seen it." Jace stood between them. "We're not giving it to anyone. Not yet." But the tension hung in the air like smoke. When they docked at an outpost station floating in low orbit, everything felt too quiet. The lights were dim. Only a few soldiers moved through the halls. Jace noticed they all avoided eye contact. "Where is everyone?" he asked. Harlan shrugged. "Evacuated. Moved to upper stations. Just in case." "In case of what?" But Harlan didn't answer. They reached a secured room where Jace could rest. Sarah refused to enter. She paced outside the door like a caged animal. Jace tried to speak to her. "We're safe now, for a little while." "No one is safe," she said. "Not anymore." And then everything changed. 2 hours later, Jace awoke to the sound of shouting. He stumbled into the corridor, just in time to see Sarah being dragged away in cuffs by soldiers in human armor. She didn't resist, but her eyes locked on Jace's, and, for the first time, he saw betrayal in them. "What are you doing?" Jace shouted. Harlan stepped forward, arms crossed. "She's a prisoner of war. She admitted to being part of enemy forces. You know the rules." She defected. "She helped me." "That's not how Command sees it," Harlan said. "They've been watching you since you touched that sphere, and they gave me orders." Jace's fists tightened. "So you set us up." "I brought you back, didn't I?" Harlan said. "Don't make this worse, Jace." The sphere was gone. Jace turned, searching, then saw it in a containment case surrounded by wires and tech scanners. "You took it," Jace growled. "We had to," Harlan said. "You don't understand what this thing could do. You were too close." "No," Jace said, voice rising. "You're too afraid." Harlan took a step forward. "Stand down, Lieutenant. That's an order." But Jace didn't move. He stared at the case, then at the soldiers, then back at the hallway where they had taken Sarah. And slowly, he turned and ran. Alarms screamed through the station. Red lights flashed. Jace moved like fire, dodging guards, slipping through vents and side doors. His memory of the layout guided him. He found the holding cells. Sarah was there, sitting in silence, arms chained. "I'm getting you out," he said. "You came back?" she whispered. "I had to." Together they broke the lock and moved quickly through the station. But before they could reach the ship bay, the intercom echoed through every hallway. "Attention all personnel. Jace Ryder is now classified as a traitor. Use lethal force if necessary." Jace looked at Sarah. "Now we really are running," she smiled weakly. "But not alone." They fled into the hangar as sirens howled behind them, and far beyond the station the sphere, now awake, began transmitting a signal the galaxy hadn't heard in 10,000 years. The awakening of warspace trembled. From the depths of a dead sector in the outer spiral, an ancient pulse surged through the void, sharp, steady, undeniable. It rippled across communication networks, jumped through satellites, and whispered through dark corners of forgotten systems. Everywhere it touched, the same message repeated in a strange harmonic sequence. The builders were waking. The signal had come from a tiny moon that was supposed to be empty, Veltrax 9. And within minutes of its activation, the galaxy responded. On the bridge of a warship orbiting a crimson gas giant, an alien admiral known as Velcharn narrowed his eyes as the signal played across his screen. The builders had once enslaved his ancestors, and now, after thousands of years of silence, their voice returned. His fingers shook as he reached for a comm. Gather the council. The prophecy was real, and the age of peace is over. Meanwhile, in the stolen ship Jace and Sarah now piloted through uncharted space, the tension inside was just as heavy. The ship was old, half-broken, and had no name. But it was fast. And most importantly, it was hidden. Jace sat at the controls, guiding them through radiation clouds and dead sectors while Sarah sat beside him, staring at the glowing builder sphere floating in a containment field. "What's it doing?" Jace asked. "It's calling out," Sarah replied. "Not just to us, to everyone. How many do you think heard it?" She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Jace knew the truth in her silence. Everyone had heard it. The ship's systems flickered. A transmission broke through the static. "This is Station Theta 12 to all civilian crafts. Emergency broadcast. We are under attack. Repeat. Under attack by unknown vessels. Builder signatures detected. Flee if you can." The message cut off with static and screams. Jace swallowed. "They're coming." "No," Sarah said, her eyes fixed on the sphere. "They're already here. They needed help, a plan, allies, anything." Jace reached out to the one person he hoped hadn't turned on him. Commander Elias Trin, a retired fleet leader known for breaking orders to do what was right. If anyone still believed in truth, it was Trin. To Jace's surprise, Trin answered. "You've started a fire, kid," the old man said through the comm. "Half the galaxy's scanning for you. The other half wants to kill you. What did you do?" "We found a builder core," Jace said. "It chose us." There was silence on the other end. Then a soft laugh. "Well, I always figured something crazy would come for you, but this is something else." "Will you help us?" Jace asked. "You bring that thing anywhere near Central Command, and they'll blast you out of the sky." "But I know a place. Old station called Solace Deep, decommissioned, hidden under the crust of a dead asteroid. Get there, and maybe we can figure out what this thing really wants. We're on our way." As they approached the asteroid belt near the abandoned Solace station, they noticed something strange. Lights. Not from the station, but from another ship already docked. "We're not alone," Sarah said, reaching for her weapon. "I don't like surprises," Jace replied. They landed the ship quietly. "Weapons ready?" They stepped out into the silent corridors of the old station. Dust floated in the air and old metal creaked beneath their boots. Then a voice echoed from the darkness. "About time you showed up." It was Harlan. He stood in the center of the room, hands up, no weapons visible. His uniform was gone, replaced with scavenger gear. His eyes were tired, older somehow. Beside him stood two others. One human, one alien, both in ragged clothes. "What are you doing here?" Jace demanded. "I was wrong," Harlan said simply. "Command didn't just want the sphere. They wanted it destroyed, along with anyone who touched it." "Why?" "Because it proves we were never in control. Not humans. Not aliens. Not anyone. The builders. They shaped everything. And now that the truth is coming out, the empires are panicking." Jace didn't lower his weapon. "You betrayed us." "I followed orders," Harlan said. "Until I realized the orders were lies." Sarah stepped forward. "So why help us now?" "Because I've seen what's coming," Harlan said, "and I'd rather be with the people trying to stop it." The sphere glowed brighter. From deep within it, a voice echoed once more. "The time of hiding has ended. The war for the future begins." Suddenly, the ground shook. Outside, a fleet of ships appeared in orbit. Not human. Not alien. Something else. Builder architecture. Sleek, black, and silent. They did not fire. They watched. Jace turned to Sarah. "What do we do now?" Sarah's voice was calm, steady. "We show them that the old cycle ends with us. No more control. No more fear. No more war." And for the first time, The builder ships responded. They opened, ramps descended, lights shimmered, inside. And one by one, strange figures began to step out. Not machines, not ghosts, not enemies, messengers. They had come to speak. But not everyone wanted peace. In the shadows above, a human dreadnought prepared its weapons, targeting both Jace's ship and the builder fleet, because to them, peace was the real threat. Love among ruins. The silence before war is not peace. It is the sound of the universe holding its breath. Above the dead asteroid, dozens of builder ships hovered in perfect stillness, their black hulls humming with ancient energy. They didn't move. They didn't threaten. They simply watched. Jace stood inside the observation deck of Solace Deep, staring through the cracked glass at the impossible sight. Beside him, Sarah remained quiet. Her fingers rested on the edge of the console, the soft glow of the builder sphere dancing across her face. They haven't made a move, Jace said softly. They're waiting, Sarah replied, for us. Behind them, Harlan paced nervously. We should leave. Every military fleet within 2 systems is on its way here. When they arrive, they won't talk. They'll shoot first and ask questions never. Then we can't run, Jace said. Not anymore. Harlan slammed his fist against the console. What are you planning to do, Jace? Talk to them. Do you even know if they understand us? No, Jace said. But maybe they don't have to. He turned to the sphere. You brought us here, he whispered. What do you want from us? The sphere pulsed. Then, without warning, it rose into the air and began spinning. Strange sounds echoed through the room. Notes of music, fragments of voices, images flashing across their minds. Stars collapsing. Empires rising. The first builder standing alone beneath a newborn sun. And then, a choice. A voice filled their heads. The cycle of control must end. One must join with the core. Only then will the others listen. Join, Jace said. What do you mean, join? Sarah looked at the sphere. Her face shifted, not in fear but in understanding. It needs a mind, she said quietly. A bridge. Jace's heart sank. No. The builders didn't leave machines to rule, she continued. They left tools. Living tools. The sphere. It's only half complete. It needs someone who understands both war and peace. Someone who knows what loss means. Someone like, no, Jace said again, louder this time. You're not doing this. Sarah stepped closer to him. The light of the sphere made her seem unreal, like a ghost or a memory. She smiled softly. You once asked me why I saved you, she said. Jace nodded, voice caught in his throat. I told you it was because I couldn't save the others, she continued, but that wasn't the whole truth. I saved you because for the first time I saw someone who could see me, not as an enemy, not as a soldier, but as a person. You are a person, he said, and you don't have to give yourself up to prove it. But if I don't, she said gently, we lose everything, and not just us. Trillions of lives, entire species, futures that haven't been born yet. Jace stepped forward. Let me do it. Maybe it doesn't matter who. Sarah touched his face, her fingers trembling. It does, she said. You still have a path. Your voice can reach them. Mine was always meant to become something more. Sarah, please. She kissed him. It was quiet, warm, full of all the things they never had time to say. And then she stepped away. She walked toward the sphere. The light grew stronger, surrounding her in strands of gold and violet. The symbols spun, faster. The air shimmered with power. Jace tried to move, but his feet wouldn't listen. Don't forget me, she said, her voice already echoing as if from far away. And with one final look, she stepped into the sphere. The explosion wasn't made of fire. It was made of light. A silent wave of energy washed across the station, across the asteroid, and out into space. It passed through ships, systems and stars, and suddenly, the builder fleet moved, but not to attack. They lowered their ships. They dimmed their weapons. One by one, lights appeared across the galaxy. Builder ruins coming alive, sending the same message. Peace. Unity. Choice. Sarah's voice, no longer flesh but now woven into the core, spoke through the systems. This galaxy has known war for too long. Now it must learn to listen. Jace dropped to his knees, hands shaking. She was gone. No, he thought. Not gone. Changed. Far above, the human dreadnought charged its main cannon. It had not received the message. Or worse, it didn't care. To some, peace was more dangerous than any enemy. Jace stood. He opened a secure channel. Commander of the dreadnought, this is Lieutenant Jace Ryder. Ceasefire immediately. The voice on the other end sneered. You're a traitor. Stand down or be destroyed. I won't stand down, Jace said. But I also won't fight you. He looked at the screen. Looked at the blinking red light signaling the countdown to destruction. Then something incredible happened. Every builder ship turned toward the dreadnought. But they didn't attack. They broadcasted a single image. Sarah's face in a voice filled with something new. Not command, not threat, hope. And for the first time in generations, the dreadnought powered down its weapons. The war never came, and the galaxy, for the first time in memory, stood still. The girl who became a legend, time passed, not like it once did with wars and battles marking its movement. Now, days flowed, like calm rivers, slow, steady, healing. It had been one standard year since the light wave from Veltrax 9 swept across the stars. 1 year since the Builder Sphere merged with the last willing soul, Sarah of the crystal-blooded people. 1 year since the galaxy changed forever. Jace Ryder walked down the smooth white corridors of the new Galactic Council Station, built in orbit above neutral space. He was no longer a soldier, no longer a fugitive. Titles like ambassador, witness, and even messenger had been whispered about him, but he didn't care for them. He walked not as a man of rank, but as the man who remembered. He entered the main chamber. It was vast and circular, filled with leaders from species once sworn to destroy each other. Now they sat side by side listening, not to weapons or fear, but to each other. At the center of the room stood a tall pillar of light, soft and shimmering. It wasn't just decoration. It was her, Sarah. Her essence lived inside the core of the Builder network now. Not just memory, not just energy. Consciousness. She spoke not with a voice, but with presence. When she wished to be heard, her thoughts flowed through the crystal lattice built into the walls of the chamber. Jay stopped before the pillar. The others fell silent. They knew why he had come. Today was the anniversary. He placed a small crystal flower on the base of the pillar, a gift from her homeworld long thought dead. Now, thanks to her sacrifice, it bloomed once again. And then the air changed. Her presence touched the room. Soft, warm, familiar. Hello, Jace, the voice echoed. Not from speakers, not from machines, but from the very light around them. He smiled faintly. Hey, you brought the flower. Of course, he said. It's your favorite. You remembered. He nodded. The other council members remained silent, respectful. Even the most war-hardened among them had learned to revere the girl who gave herself to unite the stars. They want me to speak, Jay said quietly, to remind them why they're here, why peace matters. Then tell them the truth. He stepped forward, turned, and faced the room. I was a soldier, he began. I followed orders. I fought enemies I never understood. And then I met someone who didn't see me as a weapon, someone who saw me as a person. He paused. No one moved. She was from a species my people once tried to wipe out, but in that frozen place under the stars, she chose to save me. And together we discovered a truth bigger than both of us. The builders didn't just leave behind machines, they left behind a chance, a choice, One last door into the future. He pointed to the light, and she became that door. His voice trembled slightly. I won't pretend it was easy. We ran. We bled. We fought. And in the end, she gave up her body to become the bridge we all walk on now. Not because she had to, but because she believed in what we could become. He looked at the crowd, eyes firm now. You sit here today not as rulers, not as warriors, but as survivors of an old cycle. It ends with us. It has to. The next war will not be won with bullets. It will be won with trust. There was silence. Then, a soft glow rose in the room, spreading from one crystal node to the next, and from within that light, her voice returned. Well said, Jace. He smiled again. You still think so? I always did. After the meeting ended, Jace walked alone through the garden dome above the council chamber. Real grass. Real trees. Even real wind generated by ancient builder tech now gifted to the galaxy, all made possible by her. As he stood under the stars, a small child ran up to him. Alien with bright blue skin and curious eyes. Are you the man from the story? She asked. Jace crouched. What story? The one about the human who got lost in the snow, and the crystal girl who saved him. He looked at her, smiled gently. Yes, he said. That story is true. What happened next? He looked up at the stars. She invited me into her sleeping bag, he said softly, and changed the galaxy. The girl giggled and ran back to her parents. Jace stood there for a long while, staring at the sky, hand resting over his heart. He could still feel her there. Not in the wind, not in the stars. Inside him. Not lost. Not gone. Forever light.